3. Okay, well, everybody's kind of joining in today. I hope you're doing well. It's Thursday. Hi, I'm Chad McDaniel with Execs in the Know. Thursday, the 15th of September. Where has the summer gone? It went really quick. Oded, I know you and I were talking a little bit about that and how fast times are going, but I really hope everyone's doing well. Reach out anytime to me, chad@execsknow.com. We've got so many great things continuing to happen in the community. It really is your community, Execs in the Know, a corporate CX sharing community. And I greatly appreciate your time and listenership because I know how busy we all are. But I've got an exciting topic today, using RPA and desktop analytics to enhance the employee and customer experience. And I know this is a topic you probably said we've heard about a few times in the past or many times, but this is going to have a little bit different angle to it. And when I get to introduce our guest here shortly, I think we're really lucky to get the level of knowledge that our guest speaker is going to bring us today and the planned conversation that we have for us with Execs in the Know. I've got a couple slides I just want to quickly take us through. And then, Oded, I'm going to introduce you. Today, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to try to make it very interactive with Oded and myself. I really would like to ask that you could ask questions in the Q&A box. So please put your questions out there because I want to make sure we get those answered for you. And then we'll ask some further questions at the end. For those that I think a lot of you in the community are aware that we're getting our next in-person summit. It's in San Diego, not a bad place. It's going to be October 24th, 26th. We've got a lot of great speakers, content, and agenda. I really hope that you'll look into this and come join us. We always love coming out to our in-person events in the summit. So Execs in the Know, if this is your first time, welcome. We are a corporate CX sharing community. I've been running for the last 15 years, really leaders learning for leaders. Our movement has been to elevate the industry, advance the learning. We tie to a lot of different social causes and other community causes. Lots of ways for you to get involved. Just go to our site, execsintheknow.com, and you can see a bunch of information on our Knowledge Center, our event tab, and all the publication and research that we put out there. We have a fantastic corporate advisory board, really helping with the governance of the content and the quality of conversations we have. So thank you to our entire board and their participation with helping our industry advance. The final thing I'll throw out there is that if you are a corporate end user, do join our private online community. The conversations are so rich. You can meet other hundreds of people across the globe. Like I said, the conversations are very tailored, very rich, lots of interest groups. It's free to join. Just reach out to me, chad@execsintheknow.com. Happy to send you more information. We'll put in the Knowledge Center, the console of this platform, we'll put a link there to how you can join if it's something you want more information on. Okay, enough about Execs in the Know, but welcome. Oded, first of all, thank you. Oded audience is joining us from Israel. It's 8 o'clock in the evening, Thursday night for you, Oded. So I was hoping this would be your last engagement of the day. But really, folks, I couldn't think of a more better positioned subject matter expert than Oded. He's really like the CEO of the NICE business unit for everything RPA. So really from a mastermind, we've got the right individual that help us walk through some of the components of the conversation. Oded, welcome to Execs in the Know. It's the first time having you part of our community, so I know how busy you are. Thank you. If you could just take a couple of minutes and tell us just a little bit more about the company and your role there, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. So speaking to customer experience professional, I'm sure that you heard the name NICE. NICE is a portfolio company with different solutions within the customer service, customer experience landscape. I joined NICE after a long tenure with Accenture, leading Accenture strategy consulting practice, focusing on customer service, customer journey, customer operation optimization, and so on. So come from a rich background in optimizing and working with customer operation and front offices. And then it was a natural evolution to be the director of corporate strategy from NICE. Once I hit the ground running with NICE after a few years, the CEO offered me to lead one of the up-and-coming business unit, which was the RPA, and I've been doing that for 6 years. The capacity of my role today is the end-to-end responsibility of everything that is robotics within NICE, right? So from strategy to marketing to product management, R&D, and then customer support and professional services. So I get to do the fun stuff and plan and market, and I get to do the less fun stuff, which is hearing complaints from customers and solving issues and all that jazz. But truly a great time to be part of the RPA market, and great opportunity to speak with you guys. So thanks for having me.
Well, none of us ever have customer complaints, so no, I get that, Oded. But one thing I wanted to promise this audience, and you and I were talking about, is I really want to leverage a rich, unfiltered conversation. I want to demystify a few things. I want to talk about some of the challenges. And if our audience can get a couple of takeaways, some nuggets, I think mission accomplished. So let's dive in. Oded, thank you. And I know we've got a couple of poll questions we're excited to give to the audience. And let's get started.
All right. So when I had the conversation with Chad before and kind of thinking of what content to share and what angle to take, it's always, you need to look at the current challenges, right? Current events, current market, and say what would be interesting for customer experience practitioners. And today, we face with the new reality. Now, I'm going to start by promising I'm not going to speak about hybrid work from home, a pandemic, etc. That's kind of chewed off and sped out for the last 3 years. I think we're now in the situation where we just ask ourselves, and also I brought this slide from Gartner, future of work reinvented. We can always speak about that, but you probably heard 10 of these sessions in the last couple of weeks alone. So this is not it. The purpose of today's session is to say, all right, something have changed. What have changed? What are the key trends? And more importantly, what the key trends imply for us and how can we cope with the new challenges? So the whole presentation that I prepared for you guys is around the mega trends that I've been hearing from my conversations with customers. And again, all my install base, contact center professionals, digital customer service professionals who cater front offices across verticals, mainly in the US and a lot in Europe, trying to use different solutions to overcome challenges. So everything I'm going to speak with you today is based on field experience, talking to customers, getting their feedback and trying to tailor solutions for them. So without further ado, I'm going to present these 3 mega trends that we identified, speak briefly to each and every one of them because hopefully they would resonate with you. If they don't resonate with you, it means that it's not a trend because you're the guys that living in the trenches every day. And the most important part would be kind of, as Chad said, it nuggets, examples of how to cope. So the individual contributor, the informed employee, and the employees that are looking to make an impact. Let's move a step down and say, what do they mean? Individual contributor. Now, this is something that is connecting a lot of things, right? The millennials that are now ICs, but in the contact center, and this is a trend that is different. In the past, we managed teams. And when I spoke with contact center executives, eventually they were thinking of their operation in a perspective of teams. Sometimes few teams, right? I have the retention team, I have the technical support team, I have the billing team, I have the upsell team. They were thinking in teams, and we were managing in teams. We were thinking of how to optimize our organization and what to do with them, etc. Work from home introduces us a relatively new concept in the contact center domain, which is the individuals. We now manage individuals. We need to think of them as individuals and their own needs. And the immediate impact is the less visibility, right? And before we move on, the idea of less visibility is key. And I hear it from a lot of my customers, right? In the contact center, we had the swivel chair impact, right? I could, as a supervisor, I could turn around and see a desktop of an employee. I can walk the floor. I could have the daily huddle or the stand-up or whatever name each company is doing that. But at the beginning of the shift, 10, 12, 17, if you're really thinly spread, agents speaking to their supervisor, getting the daily brief. What am I doing now? This physical distance leads to professional distance, and the immediate impact is less motivation, right? And the best example I can give to that, I was telling Chad about that the other day. We did a study with one of our customers, and they had a huge spike of almost 400 hours, 400% spike of tech support time in their productivity report. They're saying, what happened? It's the same system. It can't be all just connectivity. When we deep dived with them and analyzed, we found that it's just agents opening a ticket, reporting, now I'm working, but I'm at home, right? So I can open a ticket like I'm working, go to watch Netflix or something, wait for IT to handle the ticket. 75%, 3/4 of these tickets could have been solved by a simple restart. This would never happen in a physical environment, right? When we're in the contact center and the agent cannot work, he speaks to its supervisor, the supervisor says, pick up the phone, someone from tech support would answer on the other side. It would take 5 minutes or half an hour, but eventually the system would be live again. It's much easier to open a ticket through the portal, lay back, and be paid. This less motivation, distance, etc., faces a huge challenge. But this challenge goes down to visibility. So we have this poll for you, and I hope you can all see the poll and
I can
vote.
see it. Yeah, I can see it. So if everyone could take a minute, please help us out and vote on this. And while they're doing that, I just want to comment on a couple of things that you just said about, and it's a larger conversation I'd like to take back in the community. I mean, we all hope our employees are doing the right thing. And at the same point, there's this sort of intersection between, when it becomes too big brother, when it becomes privacy, when it becomes efficiency, in visibility. So maybe we, at a later point in the conversation, let's talk about those intersections and what we've been seeing. So again, audience, I know this is an informal poll, but if you could take a minute and rate on here what you see, that we'd love to get your perspective. So maybe a couple more seconds and then we can just show the results.
All right. I'll push the results now.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone can see the results?
Yes, I believe so. So what are the results saying?
So it's pretty much when we say visibility into the what employees are doing, desktop activities, usually we speak about DA, desktop analytics. And desktop analytics, activity monitoring, have been a while as a solution for contact centers. So I'm not surprised to see kind of an evenly distribution between, some organizations who adopted it and some organizations who are low on their adoption. Some get good visibility. No one feels really, really comfortable because these tools up until recently were relatively limited and therefore don't give the right visibility. It's good. I'm going to save that because we're going to come back to that in a second. Yes, Chad?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think if I had to say from our larger community, Oded, of what execs know is, I think it's going to fall in that 2 to 3, some visibility, moderate visibility. Yeah. I think those that have voted for good visibility, I'd love to hear from you. What are you doing? How are you doing it? Any examples? Just reach out to me, chat@execsknow.com. But I would say that the lion's share of our community is going to be in that 2 to 3. So we've got some work to do, Oded, bottom line. And you're seeing that within your customer base also. That's not inconsistent.
Absolutely. And when we speak about what to do, and this is kind of where the rubber hits the road, first it's the visibility, right? And it's understand how and what is being done. Monitor the desktop of your employees. But just to understand it's not enough. And that's kind of where the low to moderate visibility is. Some of my customers just install the agents, robots, whatever, that collects data from the desktop, but what to do with it, how to operationalize it. And this is true for all analytics, but even more important in the remote employee scenario where you cannot look, you cannot talk, you just have this data, is is to gain insight from the data. What data are you looking at? How do you slice and dice it? But even if you have the right insights, the most important thing is always the impact, right? How do you make impact? How do you translate the insight into actionable results? And when it comes to the individual contributor, we're speaking about two things. We're speaking about better performance, which comes from coaching, which comes from training, which comes from all that, but also comes from accountability, from measurement. If I know that I'm being measured and I know that I'm accountable for something and understand what's going on, I would probably do it better. So accountability and putting KPIs, etc. But you cannot just use the stick, you also need the carrot. And the carrot comes from a gamification. And in the past, gamification, again, in the physical world was easier. Physical world was easier. Let's do a contest. Let's bring everyone together and have a leaders board. And everyone who makes a sale, I write him down. And everyone are cheering. And at the end of the day, you get an iPad or you get whatever. How do you do gamification in this remote environment? And I'm going to speak to that in a second. So the idea is to have a good tool, a good solution to give you visibility. You can generate insight from that and leverage it to make an impact. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about Afrocentric Bank, MedScheme. They are one of the largest banks in South Africa, and moved to work from home after a couple of years. They started seeing a huge peak of overtime, customer operation overtime, over 3 million in local currency being paid in overtime in recent months. And then they said, why? When they look at the capacity, meaning, how many requests they get, how many credit increase requests they process, all the requests that goes to the customer operation back office, they didn't see a spike in requests. They didn't see any change. Why all of a sudden we need to pay overtime? And it's not all of a sudden. There was a steady crawl, pandemic, and then work from home, and then repeat to the usual, etc. But eventually, what's going on? Because it seems that something in the productivity slipping. We have the same workload, the same size of workforce, but we need to pay all that overtime. And there was no way to identify or understand the root cause. And this is where best practice desktop analytics solution come into play, right? Start aggregating all data. And this is the traditional desktop analytics. We're going to speak later about latest and greatest. But this is just the best practice way to use desktop analytics. And desktop analytics, by the way, is for a reason part of the robotic suite in NICE and in other companies. Because you install the robots on the desktops to automate or to guide. You can also use them to aggregate data. They're the aggregation engine. And from that, the analytics engine becomes simpler. So whatever attended automation solution you're using, make sure you hold them accountable for analytics as well, or you're not getting the full value for the dollar you're paying for attended automation. So collect the data, analyze the data, and then start comparing, right? Comparing different agents, how they execute processes, hold them accountable, put targets, start understanding what's going on. In MedScheme, what we have seen, and that was a huge value realization. First of all, the moment we started holding agents accountable, the moment we started looking at them, what they're doing, how much time they spend on productive versus non-productive system, traditional, straightforward desktop analytics that have been around for a while, we just haven't used it properly. The time that they spent in the CRM and productive system grew in almost 35%. From 16.2 to 80.53. Time spent in productive system. When you work from home, it's so easy not to be productive or to, I just need to clear my head for 5 minutes and check social media or tweet something or whatever. When I know that I'm accountable and this time is managed, things change. Yes, Chad, you have a question.
I'm just going to ask the audience, and you can send in the chat box or the Q&A to me, how in there. Visibility into the agent desktop, as you've said, Oded, it's nothing particularly new. In fact, I think everyone in some fashion or form is doing that. But what I'd love to hear from the audience is, where is that challenge or where is the intersection of concern? Is it technology? Is it budget? Is it privacy? Is it something else? Agent acceptance? Who knows? But it's not a new concept, but yet it's so fundamental to getting to where we need to be, as we're going to get into the later part of this conversation. So if anyone has any comments, I'd love to hear from you, or you can email me, chad@execsandknow.com.
Yeah. And I'm going to touch that in a second. I think the bigger surprise is not the spike that we saw with this customer of productivity, is the spike they saw on CSAT. And 40% is a huge spike in CSAT.
Sure.
But every contact center professional will tell you, when you reduce AHT, when you increase productivity, when you increase the resolution time, when you increase FCR, customer satisfaction would go up, right? The issue is that if in the past, the conversations I had with my customers were, how do I gain efficiencies? How do I save headcount? How do I have less agents in the contact center? Today, and we're going to speak about that in the next trend, with the big resignation, etc., they're more worried to retain their existing agents, and they have too much open positions. It's even less worried about how do I have less agents. They have less agents. They cannot fire anyone. They just cannot backfill all the positions that they're looking for. And customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction became a huge matrix. And again, when you reduce AHT, and we can speak about AHT reduction using automation for hours and hours, yes, it brings efficiencies, but more importantly, we have direct correlation with increasing CSAT. And this is just one more example. And again, I didn't do a cause and effect study. It's not academia. I'm not signing my mortgage on that, but I think we see a very clear correlation. The moment the workforce become more productive, more efficient, better AHT, better FCR, CSAT goes up. And there is an ROI to that, right? They started saving 9.4 hours of overtime per employee per month. And with their numbers, they're a big bank when it comes to South Africa. They're not a huge bank when it comes to the US perspective, but still, that was over $2.8 million in saving just from that exercise alone. So the ROI was very clear. But as Chad was mentioning, there were always challenges in adopting desktop analytics. There's always challenge in user adoption, in getting the employees not to run away to say, I don't like the Big Brother approach. And the way to overcome that is with the carrot and not the stick, right? I bring here an example from an anonymous customer. They don't want to be named, but just from the title of travel and hospitality conglomerate, you can take a good guess of who am I speaking with. They're very CX-centric. They're customer experience-centric. The experience in their resorts, in their parks, in everywhere, it's very vital to who they are and in their DNA. And they saw, like everyone else, work from home made everything slip, right? It's harder to coach, it's harder to motivate, it's harder to engage employees. Everything became so much harder. They're also really great at increasing share of wallet. Once you start planning your vacation, you start from planning to spend X and you spend 3X, 4X, because there's an upsell over an upsell over an upsell. You have the resort. Oh, what about the activities? You go on the activities, but you need to eat. Oh, you need to eat, but there's that show and that ride. It's all about the upsell and increasing and making sure that agents are very, very savvy in upselling. And that started slipping when it came to remote work. And they took the different approach, or the best practice approach, which not only monitor and measure everything, but start using gamification on top of these KPIs to being more productive, to having more upsells, to being more engaged, to having better CSAT, and so on. And we have here some example of leaders board and scores. And again, gamification was much easier before. Now you need a good performance management and a good gamification tool and a good remote coaching tool, because you cannot go and step and have a session with your employee. You can open a chat. You can do it via Teams or whatever UC platform you have. It's not as effective. Once you start adding the gamifications, the medals, the prizes, etc., it's a small price to pay, and there's a huge upside.
Oded,
I can tell you. Yeah, go ahead.
Oded, is there an argument, depending on the industry, healthcare, energy, whatever it could be, I don't know, that gamification doesn't work for us. It doesn't fit our culture, our environment, or what do you say to those? Is there such a thing?
Well, I haven't heard it to that extent. In Europe, I've been getting some pushbacks around unions and unionized and what you are allowed and not allowed to monitor. I've been hearing that from some big California-based tech companies, Microsoft, for example, who are our customers. We don't want to monitor our employees at all. We're afraid of the legal aspects of that, etc. I haven't heard cultural pushbacks. I have heard, gamification didn't work because our employees are too cynical for that, and they don't care for that. And my response was always, if that's the case, you haven't done it right. You haven't engaged them in the right way. You haven't given them the right incentive. You haven't created the right platform. It wasn't successful, not because your employees are more cynical, because we live in a cynical world and everyone are cynical pretty much to the same level. If it's not successful to you versus others, you just haven't done it right.
And I think the beauty is there's lots of ways to try to slow pilot it, and look at different counter pieces and other areas. And I'm sure a lot of the leaders on the phone right now have done that or are doing that. I don't know if this was your example, but I recently went on a Disney trip. I left with a couple $100 in my wallet, and I came home with a $2,000 credit card bill. So anyhow, upsell, cross-sell every moment, but I hear you.
Well, all I can say is that you're, as I know you, you're a very smart guy, and I won't say anything beyond that. But we took their the pure customer service, right? The team that is doing the booking, the initial sales team, and it's a team of about 600 people. 45 agents grew their sales 5% in the first month. This number grew to 180 in the second month. But I think the biggest statistic, the happiest statistic or the statistic made us happiest, is that 90% of agents are checking this gamification performance management tool on a daily basis. Every day, at least once a day, they go and check, where am I on the leaders board? How close am I to the next achievement, to the next medal, to the next reward, to gaining this iPad or this trip or whatever? They check it. So when you come to me and say it's not working, if your agents don't care and they're that cynical, why they're so obsessed of going into the system every day if they don't have to? It definitely gamification work, and in remote environment, it's almost becoming a must-have tool. And again, you don't do gamification generic. You need to do gamification when you know your KPIs, you know what you're measuring, and you increase the accountability. So the visibility side, remember, it's visibility, insight, impact. So if you have the right visibility, you understand what you need to measure, you put the right KPIs, and then you coach to them and give the rewards to them, you're on the right track. All right.
Words for visibility, insight, and measure?
No, so it's visibility, insight, and impact. You're going to see it throughout my presentation.
Okay, so we have that noted here in the community. Thank you. So, Oded, I appreciate it. And if there's any of the audience here, we have another poll question a little bit down the road here. But if you have any comments about gamification, good, bad, or indifferent, put some thoughts in the comment box, or again, you can email me, chat@execsnow.com. I'd love to hear your opinions.
All right, so we have just an hour together, unfortunately. So I will now move to the next trend, which is around the informed employee, right? So if you spoke about that employees are becoming individuals and individual contributors, they understand that the balance of power have shifted. And I'm not going to explain the Great Resignation. You all feel it and speak about that and the employee attrition. Contact centers have been a revolving door forever, right? I have BPO customers who spoke to me of 30% attrition as the cost of doing business every year. And, I'm speaking here about BPO with 25,000 contact center agents. And they need to onboard and offboard 7,000, 8,000 agents every year. That's kind of the cost of doing business. But with the Great Resignation, with the CSAT, all of a sudden it's becoming matrices that are critical, and more conversations are around that, or as many conversations around that as around efficiency and compliance. And the quiet quitting is even more baffling, right? Where employees are saying, I work from home, but I'm going to put boundaries. I'm going to do the minimum. I'm less motivated. I gave the example before. And speaking of the power, I'm just going to give one example that I hope would resonate. One of my healthcare providing customers, we recently started working with them. And as part of the discovery, we had a conversation. And they went from 100% on site to 100% remote during the pandemic to 80-20. 4 days a week you work from home, 1 day you're in the office, right? And usually the day in the office is not productive work. They're taking very few calls. This is the day for training. This is the day for sorting issues. This is the day to coaching and work with my supervisor and some coffee with my team. And this is the social day, and then and that's it. They made it clear to their employees landscape that starting 2023, they're going to move back to 40-60. So 2 days a week in the office, 3 days a week remote. Attrition went up, and the customer who didn't churn, the agents who didn't churn, the CSRs, told them, guys, I'm looking. I haven't churned yet, but I'm not going to be here for January 1st, 23 for 2 days a week in the office. And I can work, and scheduling appointment for a hospital, I don't have to be in the West Coast. I can also help a hospital in Mountain Time or any other hospital network. They're calling me because it's the same industry and I have the know-how. So I don't must work for it. I'm not obliged to work for it. I don't need to do whatever you tell me. So either you go back to the 80-20 or I'm gone. And this shift of power puts a lot of stress on us. So as said, what do? Remember, visibility, and then the solution and the impact. So visibility, you need to understand what challenge your employees, what they hate to do, what they don't like doing. I'm sorry, I know, I don't care. This is the job, they're being paid. Let them do the work. Not anymore. If this is what you think, you're 3, 4, 6 years ago, and you're going to lose the battle for talent. And you're going to have higher attrition and lower quality agents. This is about understanding what they want to do and what they don't want to do. And by the way, usually what they want to do, the lighter stuff. They don't want to do the repetitive, mundane, navigating through system, copy and paste, all that jazz, aggregating data. If I didn't want to talk to people, I wouldn't go to be a CSR. If I'm going to be a CSR, probably I spent my high school days talking to the phone with my friends, right? That is something I like to do. So you need to understand what is causing them frustration. Once you understand what's causing them frustration and you have that visibility, the next step is, of course, what you do with that. And that is attended automation, personal assistant, digital assistant. You deploy robots, but in the RPA world, most of the robots that we're familiar with were just for offloading tasks, right? And this is end-to-end task. It's quite binary, right? I have here a customer service task. I either send it to a robot, he would do it automatically, or I give it to an agent, he would do it manually. Great efficiency. Great for back office. Front office, not so much. Why? Because in the front office, the customer called. The moment he calls, he speaks to a human, and I'm not going to all these conversational voice bots. If you tried it, you know that the technology is not there yet. So I cannot offload the actual conversation, the actual dialogue to a robot. That second, I cannot use an unattended robot. I cannot offload the work. I need to service the customer in real time using my desktop and my phone. That's it. So now what do? You use the robot in real time on the desktop, man working with machine, what we call attended automation, to start taking away the robot from the human. Make sure that the robot automates the task that the agent hates to do. The data aggregation, the copy and paste. I just updated this customer address in the CRM. Why do I need to go and update in the billing and in the marketing automation and in the field service management and in the courses? I just did it. Why not let the robot do it in the background while I continue the conversation? So Oh, I haven't flipped the slide even. So leverage the power of attended automation and give a personal virtual assistant to each and every employee. And again, I'm not speaking about a virtual chatbot that serves the employee. I'm not speaking about the whisper type of a technology or analyzing the call and providing guidance. I'm speaking about a pure automation tool to take away the repetitive, mundane, boring tasks that will increase engagement. And if we speak about the impact, I have here quotes from one of our oldest customers. I think they've been with us for over 8 years. And every 6 months, we come to them and we do what we call like the half year review. And they always bring in some quotes from agents, right? What they say about the solution, the new solutions we automated, etc. This is the Blue Cross of Idaho, healthcare insurer, a regular Blue Cross operation, roughly 300 agents, not a huge operation. But these are the responses we get from their agents. They love the fact that they have a tool that they can leverage to automate, to navigate between the complicated system, to streamline the process, and then they can focus in speaking with patients and giving them the care that they deserve. So leveraging a digital assistant, attended automation is, yes, it's in low penetration rate. I'm not doing the survey because I have the numbers, right? Today, less than 8% of contact center agents have a true robust attended robot automating the repetitive and mundane tasks. That means that 90% have nothing or have something that is called attended robot, but it's more a tool to communicate between the unattended robot and the desktop. A true agent, digital agent that monitors your screen and proactively intervene, taking away your repetitive mundane task, very low penetration rate. But I highly recommend you do that, because if you start investing in your employees, they will be happier, they won't resign, they would stay longer, they will be more professional. And beside increasing AHT because everything's faster, increase CSAT because everything's faster, these are almost becoming byproducts when we speak about the informed employee trend. I'll stop now before I move to the third trend, because I know, Chad, you have some questions.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of some of our community members that are on today's call. I know you well, and where you're at in your brands and stuff. But let's say, Oded, some of our folks said, "Hey, we've leveraged a digital assistant, and maybe we didn't get the success, the luck, this insights, whatever, for whatever reasons." What would be your commentary to those that are down the maturity path with leveraging some of these digital assistants and maybe are not seeing what they had hoped for?
So there are few levels of responsive. First of all, there is confusion in the market around what is digital assistant, right? There are the Emilias of the world, right? These are conversational bots that are being moved to focus on employees and become internal chatbots, but they're glorified chatbots. They're very valuable to some customers. That's not what I'm talking about, right? Because they don't do actions. And at the back end, you need to start building a lot of work to make them valuable, to have an impact. They're just a pipe. Then there are all these guidance tools that monitor Balto, Cogito, Whisper. And again, I'm not disrespectful. I've seen them bring a lot of value. But again, this is not the domain I'm talking about. This is not the type of digital assistant I'm talking about.
Okay.
If you truly try a robot on the desktop that can mimic what your agents are doing, that's what I'm talking about. Putting a piece of software on the desktop that mimic what your employees are doing. And instead of your employees doing copy and paste from the CRM to 6 different systems, let the robot do that. While your employees are talking or doing something else, if you have a low footprint robot, it can happen in the background, it doesn't impact the machine. The best example I can give you is from a very large tax authority on the other side of the pond, right, in Europe. And they had a process where when you call the government tax authority to ask about your tax credit, the agent would put you on hold and spend 3 minutes navigating 24 screens on 7 different systems just to aggregate the data to respond to your question. What's the status of the payment? Is it approved? Are you in default? Are you in the fraudster list? Are you in the criminal list? Have you submitted all the forms? What is your credit data from the DNB? Literally 7 different systems, 24 screens before they could answer intelligently your question. Yeah. Why not have the robot in the background? Just bring the data from 24 screen to a unified template. It takes 15 seconds. So yes, we reduced from 3 minutes to 15 seconds. Anyone understand if you save 165 seconds per call that happens between 7,000 and 8,000 times a day, the dollars count. But this is a unionized organization. They're a local IRS. They don't care about efficiency, but they do care about customer satisfaction. They do care about employee satisfaction, or citizen satisfaction and employee satisfaction. And saving 3 minutes of repetitive, mundane task was a huge thing for them.
Hey, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm with you, Oded. I'm there. I'm with you. And I appreciate the clarification. And we learn as a community together, and there's a lot of respected members of our community on this call. I think of Terry, Tony, Sharon, Karen, Tom. I'd love to get your opinion. Tell me what you're thinking about this conversation and your thoughts. And Adam, thank you. Adam, one of our great community members, asked for a little more clarification, Oded, but he said the most competitive and high-performing team they've ever had at his brand is when they had a prominent dashboard. However, he said quality suffered during this time. So I didn't know if that was a bit of a training thing, agent distraction, newness of a platform. I'm not really sure there, but a good comment from Adam there. So I know we got a few more.
Again, I don't know, but it can be all of the above. It can also be about some change management and adoption. And again, the dashboards are very effective, but they're also, quality, etc. But if you use the right coaching, gamification on top of that, you may mitigate some of that risk. But then it's all about the specific. And by the way, the last comment I have around it didn't work for me in the past. Today, the barrier of entry is very small, right? Don't start big. Don't buy digital assistant for 3,000 agents across the landscape and then invest $1 million in services to build all your dream automations and use cases. Do a pilot, take a team of 50, 100, whatever agents. Most of the vendors, present company included, but unfortunately my competitors as well, I'm not unique here, would be willing to offer you a small scale deployment where you don't pay for the licenses, you pay a small amount for services, you put something in production, you measure the results. If it's great, then you go and buy the license and scale up, etc. Today with cloud and these sort of engagements, you don't need to install huge servers. The barrier of entry went from 7 digits to very, very low 6 digits, like 100K, you can do a good pilot and test the water. So I would also recommend, if you want to drink from the Kool-Aid, but you're hesitant or you need to show hard on targets to your management, start small. If it's not working, you haven't risked that much. If it is working, then go big.
Well, I know we've got a couple more slides, another poll question and a quick video we want to show. And then I've got some questions coming in that I want to make sure we get to, Oded.
All right. So I'll wrap up in a few minutes. The last trend is actually a bit counterintuitive, because I just spoke about lower motivation and quiet quitting and empower the employees. But it seems that we now brought into the workforce a whole new generation, and with everything and work-life balance, and they're allowed to be overwhelmed and they want to take things slow, they want it to mean something. They want to make an impact. How do I make an impact? And again, how do I make an impact goes to two things. You need to understand on a very granular level what your employees are doing. And when I say what, visibility here, this is not around desktop analytics. the old one, and I promised to speak about the new one. So this is the new one. This is true process analytics. How processes are actually executed. Most of my customers, if they're honest with themselves, they don't really know. They know the process that Accenture or PwC or McKinsey designed for them, boxes and arrows, how the flow should happen. And they know what was built into the CRM and the different systems, the design. They know what they provide in training, in CSR training, the 2 weeks boot camp or 3 months boot camp, depending on how complicated is your landscape. But they have no idea how employees are actually executing processes. They have no idea, oh, they're using OneNote. Why OneNote is used so much in this process? Why they open an Excel and a calculator when they can do it via the portal? All sorts of surprises comes up once you see the actual execution of processes. And of course, the visibility of processes can add measurement. I know that Chad is very fast and Oded is very slow. I need to coach and train Oded on how to execute this process. I also need to take a look at Chad because he's way off doing it too fast. Maybe he's cutting corners and compliance adherence, and I need to make sure that there is process adherence. But having visibility to the single employee, how they execute, but more importantly, to the aggregated level, what's in their way, what they're looking to do, what they're actually doing, that's the best way to remove bottlenecks and have them to do the impact. And then from that, you can actually start seeing employees making an impact and feeling better about themselves. Now, this cannot be achieved or was never be able to achieve, even if the promise was there, with the old traditional desktop analytics tools. Today, with a relatively new domain, which is called task mining, which I'm not sure how many of our listeners have adopted. Task mining is the domain to mine into the desktop tasks of the employees. So have the robot installed on the desktop, the same concept as desktop analytics, only in this case, aggregate everything. Big data, cloud computing, we have the capacity. Every mouse click, every data entry, every Control-C, Control-V, every keyboard activity, everything needs to be collected. All the data into the system, etc. And then once you have that huge amount of millions and millions and millions of small little tasks, run unsupervised machine learning, AI-powered analytics tool. Fancy name for pattern analysis, right? Once you have the data, you can start identifying patterns. If you have a good, robust algorithm, you can start seeing processes. And with a click of a button, you can see what your employees are doing, how processes are being executed, document them, identify the bottleneck. Yes, the original thought for NICE to develop this tool and invent this domain was around automation. Let's find opportunities for automation. But my most advanced customers are taking it to the next level. And they're doing so much more with it. Because process analytics is great for coaching, for training, for transformation, for changing the system. It's so, so valuable. And this leads us to our next poll question, right? Do you have that kind of visibility to process analytics? Do you actually know how your employees are executing processes? And with all due respect, time and motion studies, this is the old way to do things. We no longer send people to sit on the back of the agents and with the stopwatch. And I would love to see the organization able to do that in a work from home environment. The agent is going to invite the consultant to a cup of coffee to do a time and motion study. That's not going to happen. So truly, do you have the visibility to how your employees are doing? Well, we have just one response.
Let me.
Now we have two.
I've been getting a lot of good comments sent to me privately as I've been reaching out. Thank you and stuff. I want to make sure I get to them. So, folks, everyone on the call right now, if you could just take a minute to, how do you know your employees are executing various processes? Manually automating, not really. Let's give our thoughts and opinion there. Just our last poll question. And then we've got a quick video we want to show coming up.
The video is just 1 minute, so we're good. Then
okay.
we'll have time. All right. Yeah. We don't have many responses, unfortunately. We have like 3, and they're evenly split between we're doing manual tracking, which is common, not really, which is again one guy, and yes, we have an automatic way. So we have one organization that adopted the best practice, but I don't think. Oh, here we have a few more responses.
Now, it could have been
as expected.
Oded, it could have been my fault. I didn't word the question correctly, so my bad. But
yeah, it's not surprising. It's very nascent domain task mining. Very few organizations have that. One organization is more advanced, but most of the guys either don't have any tool or they're using manual work. And I highly, highly recommend. And again, this is something you can do. Start extremely small. Start from a very low exercise. Let's see if it works. Give me, 20 agents that we would aggregate data for 10 days. And then we can see what happened during these 10 days and how processes were executed. Where were the bottlenecks? Where are your coaching opportunities? Where are your automation opportunities? And then if you like the results and you have the ROI, you can start scaling. Cheap, few weeks exercise you can do by testing the water of the world of task mining. So I highly, highly, highly recommend everyone to at least test the water with this very, very advanced technology. Last 1 minute video that I wanted to share with you that kind of brings everything together. Once we analyze and understand the problem, and once we deploy the digital assistant to help each and every employee, how can we help the employees be better, be more efficient, more satisfied customers, and make an impact? This is a real life example. Sorry, go ahead.
We'll go in there because I got a bunch of comments and questions coming in. So let's roll it.
Absolutely.
Oded, it better be a great video.
It will. It's a quick example. A roadside assistant company, a leading one in her geography, and now we see a case where the call is coming in for the roadside assistant. The customer have an issue. First, our digital assistant. This is a real life example, real screens. First, authentication. Ask him what is the address. Ask him that. Make sure. Okay, authenticated. Now let's check what he have. The digital assistant, Niva is the nice digital assistant, automatically in the background check. First of all, are you in a safe place? Be empathetic, help with the script, make an impact. Now checking the coverage. Oh, wait a minute. This breakdown coverage is not covered in this customer subscription. All right. Now what's the script? How to say it in a very empathetic way. Now we use Whisper, nice speech analytics technology to identify the very bad sentiment from the customer, right? If you identify bad sentiment, this is the time, first of all, be empathetic. Then bad sentiment immediately would lead to next best action. Let's offer one-time waiver. You offer it to the customer, including the script. Then you said, okay, where you are, guidance, type the data into the new field with the map, etc. Then in the background, going into a third-party system, which is through a web portal, a very system outside of the AA landscape, to find the next roadside service vendor that can come and assist you. Now I know 45 to 60 minutes, service provider is on the way, the customer is happy, so relieved, everyone are happy. This is a real life example which we deployed for the AA, which is the equivalent of the AAA in the US, it's the AA in the UK. I think what's most important here is that the next step was the robot created a lead to the upsell team to call every customer who had this one-time waiver a week after and offer him the full subscription. You use the service, you see it's valuable, would you like to subscribe? So everything is streamlined, employees are more impactful. All these automations were built based on a very deep analysis of the desktop data and understanding that this process, and this is the most common one, right? You call a roadside assistant is the number one call reason for the AA. We understood the pains, automated where it matters, reduced AHT, and employee ESAT went up. I'll stop here to take any question or comment.
Well, definitely questions and comments have been coming in here. And thank you, everyone. And time always goes by so fast. I'll start with a couple comments. There's been a number shared with me. Tom Tom, one of our corporate community members. I won't tell people's companies just to protect identities, I guess. But Tom has been talking about this conversation. They've been going through this now with first getting desktop analytics, then skill-based routing, then process analytics. They said they had a large drop-off of productivity as they moved to their remote workforce, I guess when they had to work from home like everyone else did. He also said they're implementing AI chat and email. And, you know, I don't know where the comment is other there, but how do you maintain the productivity, the agent focus, the agent engagement as something that constantly comes up, I think, in the community? So Oded, I don't know if you have any quick comments on that or thought, but there's many more others that have come in.
Yeah, so very quickly, and again, there's no magic wand here, right? I spoke about gamification, spoke about accountability and measurement. All I can say is that with one of our customers, we compared 3 teams, right? The first team is the employees that stayed or went back to work from the office. The second team are employees that are 100% remote, but used to be office-based and just with the pandemic moved to remote and stayed remote. And the last team is new employees that joined through the pandemic and are 100% remote. And I won't surprise everyone by saying the most productive were the on-site employees. The least productive were the employees that have no attachment and never visited the office other than to take their hardware if it's not sent to them, right? So the employees that been partially remote, hybrid, were a bit more productive than the full remote, and both were less productive than the on-site. This is the reality we're facing. We need to increase productivity using visibility tools, quality tools, and the journey that Tom is taking is pretty much the best practice journey. I would highly recommend adding automation to that. Start taking away tasks from employees to make them more productive, focused on call and customer service. But overall, these are the tools that are out there.
I would recommend, and again, Terry from our community, I know you mentioned that you see a lot of what they're doing, the agents, but a lot of it is manual. Somehow processing is all manual. So Oded, maybe if you've got some thoughts or ideas, you know, or Terry, reach out, we can have a conversation and learn a little bit more about that. But you're not alone in that piece of it, about manual, the processing, the visibility, but the manual, and also even some of the productivity stuff we've been discussing. And another individual, Rich, in our
we are asking, Terry, like a lot of others, we're asking our agents to be Superman. We give them so many repetitive, manual, mundane processes, navigating between old legacy system. We don't give them the tools, and then we tell them, be more productive. Reduce your AHT, do more per hour, do it with a smile, be empathetic, increase the CSAT. We tie their hands behind their back and give them impossible tasks. We need to give better tools to the agents.
And a similar thought too, and again, we're going to be out of time, but Rich had mentioned in our community, the challenges that we have productivity tools, but the scorecard creation is manual. So I'm hearing a lot of consistent themes through that. Maybe what we should do, Oded, is have a follow-up conversation about that and bring that to the community. We can do it in many different ways. So we'll take that offline. However, audience, I would encourage you in the console of the platform, there are some assets. Nice, you've done a great job of putting in an ebook, a case study, and a video. So click those links. From Execs in the Know, I think we have a link to our 2021 Corporate Insight Report, which supports some of the things we've been talking about. I didn't get to share any of the data charts with you today. And we also have a link to our Know-It-All community. If you're not part of our private online community called Know-It-All, you need to join because of the conversations like this and many others. But Oded, our time is obviously up. I think we need to have more of this. We need to have more discussion around this. So I know it's late at night for you. It's getting ready to be the weekend too. So thank you very much. And we'll make sure we follow up with any unanswered questions I didn't get to that have still come in. But it was a very engaging conversation, Oded. I can't say thank you enough.
Absolutely. Very, very happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And this is an open invite for everyone. My job is always better when I talk to the actual practitioners. I know how to best suit my product. I know how to best market my product. So you're not bothering me. Feel free to engage with questions, with conversations. Reach out to me directly or via, if you have a nice account executive, that's also a way, or via Execs in the Know. Happy to engage in any sort of conversation that you guys find useful. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, Oded, if you could hang on for 1 minute, everyone have a great rest of your day. Reach out anytime. I hope you come to our summit in San Diego. Thank you so much, and thank you for your listenership. Be well.